Everybody, Norm over here, and we're here filming today on our day off for Patreon viewers. And it's for you guys that actually like our videos and want more. This is something that for the last almost 50 years, I've been kind of putting guitars away, stashing them, no rhyme or reason, but the ones that I felt were like really great examples, I kind of put some great stuff away. You know, I'm getting to be an old man now. Some of this stuff is going to be sold. But I've got some of our friends and family here. We've got the great Tim Pierce, who one of the most recorded guitar players in the world, and also has his lesson
online masterclass. Yeah.
And that is really something. He's getting a lot of stuff. Val, you were talking about the solo from Peg that you saw.
Yeah, I just happened across it. One of my favorite solos. And,
oh, yeah.
And it was amazing to see it broken down lick by lick.
Jay Graydon was kind enough to do that for us.
Jay's an old friend of ours, you know, and Jay is a fantastic bowler. I don't know if you know this. I went to a bowling alley.
That makes sense.
And I don't know what the thing was, but the guys at the store, we decided we're going to go bowling after the store. And we went to the bowling alley, and Jay happened to be, Corbin Bowl. And Jay was on the next lane. And I'm like watching him, he's like throwing strike after strike. And I said, Jay, you know, what's the deal, man? I mean, you know, he said, I could have been on the professional bowling tour, but I chose to be a guitar player.
Well, it's easy compared to that solo on Peg.
Yeah, just knocking those stupid pins down. I mean, you know.
Which is more lucrative, professional bowling or professional guitar playing?
That's a question right there.
Yeah. In his case, I think it was music.
Yeah, he made the right choice.
It's songwriting for him, actually. Anyway.
Yeah. After the Love Is Gone, one of my favorites.
Wow. Turn Your Love Around.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
Great.
Steve Lukather.
George, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we have the great Tim Pierce. We got the great Val McCallen from the Jackson Browne Band, my favorite local band, Jack Shit. You know, actually my two favorite local bands, that and the Dirty Knobs, you know, with Mike Campbell and Jason Sine. And then we got the great Mark Agnesi, who is, you know,
making everyone jealous over here.
Trying to keep him captive, you know, his rare guitars and all that. We got Jen filming. And so let's, should we talk a little bit about some of these guitars? This guitar, what's kind of very unusual, this is a late 60s Gibson Crest. And this was all rosewood, Brazilian rosewood, by the way. And it's sort of like the 330 type scale. It's got two floating pickups, so they're not kind of built into the face of the guitar. Very unusual guitar with a wood pick guard. They wanted to do something where it was all wood, you know, not a lot of plastic on the guitar other than some of the bindings.
So it's like a Johnny Smith and a 330.
But it's not a signature guitar.
But it's, yeah, not a signature guitar.
But this one kind of is in a way, because I got this guitar from my old friend J.J. Cale. And this is a picture of J.J. with me and my buddy Danny back in the day when I got the guitar. And over the years I did a lot of business with JJ, and he was a great guy. And one little story I was telling Tim before is, you know, I'm very involved with this thing, the Midnight Mission. It's a homeless charity in LA. And JJ had called me, and he was like not about money or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, I sold him some nice guitars.
Bursts and stuff, right?
The Sunburst Les Paul and all that. And a lot of instruments. And one time he said, you know, I'm not really, you know, going out doing as much stuff as I was, and I'm going to, you know, sell some stuff, and I'm happy to give you first crack at the guitars that I bought from you. And he was really cool. He said, look, just, you know, give me a fair price and I'm cool with it. I don't need the money. He said, after midnight and, you know,
lay down salary.
Yeah, lay down salary, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you know, he was doing very well. Yeah, cocaine, all those things. So he was doing very well. In fact, after midnight was on a couple commercials. And he was just kind of raking it in. He said, no, I don't need the money. He's a very simple guy. And I had asked him at the time too, I said, JJ, would you play for us for the Midnight Mission, you know, for this homeless charity? And he knew that I was into it, and he said he would, and unfortunately he passed before he was able to do it. But one thing, you know, when I was buying some guitars from him, and he had a few guitars kind of against the wall, and there was like a banjo guitar and a number of things. And he said, Norm, you see those instruments over there? And I said, yeah. He said, why don't you give those to the Midnight Mission and they can auction it off and raise some money for the homeless. So he was a really sweet guy and, you know, a dear friend and somebody that I really loved. And, you know, Everybody misses him. Great songwriter and all that. And you said you were a big fan of JJ as well.
Yeah, always amazed by his incredible direct sounding guitar tone. I don't know if it was direct, but it was like on Cocaine, some of those songs with the guitars, and so laid back.
Oh, he was totally laid back. He loved fishing. Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, that's my buddies in the Dirty Knobs. That's one of their big tunes. I always loved that tune, and I said, "Who wrote that?" And they said, "Oh, it was JJ." I didn't even realize it. So,
how many years did they do these? Because these weren't around very long.
Very short time.
68, 69.
Yeah, just maybe a couple years. They made very few of them. It was somebody's idea. It didn't go over all that well at the time, but it's just a very unusual thing, and it was very much a top-of-the-line instrument, you know, with all rosewood gold parts and all that.
But not a narrow nut.
No, that's kind of an unusual thing, too. For a late 60s guitar, usually the nuts would be kind of narrow, and then it would kind of get big. This is pretty wise. And then my buddy Val over here, he said he was going to take a solo on this bass, regardless of it being in tune or not.
Well, I'm playing an amazing solo right now. Unfortunately, I'm not plugged in, so you're not going to be able to tell.
It's killing,
it's
guys.
like
It's
Jocko level stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What year is this, Norm?
Look at this.
That one is a 1951, I believe, precision bass. And they kind of, the precision bass kind of evolved from this body style, which they call it the
version 1, yeah.
This was kind of model 1. Then they went to, with a single pickup,
The contour, yeah.
they went to the contoured body, which is like kind of like what Sting plays. And then they went to the split pickup precision bass with the contoured body.
Which
So
is how
it
you
evolved.
yeah.
It's very light.
But this is a precision bass, not a Telecaster.
tele
The
bass.
Telecaster bass didn't officially come until the late 60s.
Yeah, in the late 60s, they came out with a Telecaster bass, and it was called a Telecaster
Looked
bass.
kind of
This says
almost
precision.
identical, but
Looked basically the same. Color was a little bit different. Generally, they were generally lighter with a white guard and all that, and then they did some colors with them. And then they went to a humbucking version of the Telecaster bass also later on. And so that's just a beautiful example. Very low serial number. Comes with its original gig bag. And,
Leatherette gig bag, yeah, by Bullwine Industries.
Oh,
yeah.
Which is always fun.
And speaking of Bullwine Industries, I remember just a quick story. A buddy of mine, you know, had called me and he said, I found out where Fender got all their cases from. And it was this place in Costa Mesa called Bullwine Industries. And I said, ah, cool. He said, listen, man, I went down there and I bought like tweed cases, brown cases, stuff. He said, I got everything I need. There's still loads of stuff. Why don't you contact them? So I contacted him. I went down there and I bought just a load of cases from tweed, black, white, brown, and those plastic cases that they
Sunglass
made
case, yeah,
in the
export
mid 60s. You know, while I was down there, I was talking to one of the guys, and the guy said, you know, they used to send us instruments, and that's how we took the measurements and made the cases. And he said, somewhere around here, we probably have some instruments laying around. And he said, I don't know, you know, I mean, but, you know, I said, well, here, take my number if you ever find them. Call me. And they even did that for saxophones and all kinds of stuff. And then about 3 days later, I get a call, and the guy says, yeah, we found a bunch of stuff. Yeah, there's an old Stratocaster and this, that, and the other. And I said, well, what do you want for it? He said, I don't know, like $35 for the Strat. This was, you know, like early 70s, before I even had a store. I got in my car to get down there. I could have been killed, or I could have killed a lot of people getting down there. I went down there. I got a 54 Strat that had some water damage because they had it in a big box with all kinds of other guitars. They had like a Fender keyboard bass. They had, you know, like Fender Kingman acoustics. They had saxophones, and they were all just piled up like it was a bunch of junk that they just.
Did you have to take the Kingman to get that Strat?
I did. It was part of the deal, you know. So, but it was one of the most amazing deals, and that was at the time where, you know, nobody knew anything about this stuff. This is before I even had a store. And I don't even know if the word vintage was even really coined at that point. You know, so, but this buddy of mine, when he told me about that, I just kind of freaked. And Mark knows all about that.
Oh, yeah.
I've kind of seen a few of those cases.
A few of those cases have gone through it. This.
What do you got there?
Oh yeah, this is what it's all about right here, right? Guitars like this kind of started the whole craze. 58 Les Paul Standard, dark back, 2 PAFs.
Wow.
Just about as nice as you could possibly hope for. on a guitar like this.
So then they started flame tops after that, right?
To be honest, this serial number falls within the range of bursts. Oh. Bursts were already being made before this serial number, so somebody must have just really wanted a gold one still.
Yeah.
Val, you got a really great one from me years ago.
Yeah.
But it's just like if you just get the angles and the contours and this carve around the top, that dish there, it's just perfect, man.
Sometimes through the gold you can even
see a flame top, yeah.
Oh, really?
What do you think about yours, the one you got?
It's unbelievable. Yeah, I got a great one from Norm in the late, what was that, 2008 or something. Actually, my dad bought it for me. He doesn't know he bought it for me, but he left me some money, and after he passed, I went and bought that guitar, and I still have it. It's incredible, incredible guitar.
It's a great guitar.
Do you remember when you got this, or how long? Because this has been in here for a
real long time. That's been in here for maybe 25, 30 years.
Wow.
And
it's crazy.
And just so you know, Val, we're having that. We'll give you your money back sale right now. So if you decide you want to unload that crappy gold top, you can sell it back to me.
I bought it right before the crash, so I bought it and kind of watched it
dip a little bit, but
it came back.
The good always seems to rise to the top.
Yeah.
You bought a couple cool guitars for me recently too.
Yeah, I couldn't resist. I buy the players. I know there's 3 of them. The 62 Gibson ES 335, devalued with some modification. Fine with me.
Microphones don't care.
And they don't.
Microphones don't care about refrets.
Those are great instruments.
No. And then, what is it, the J185?
Yeah, that is like my favorite model Gibson acoustic
like
flat top.
J100 a little bit?
Yeah, it's smaller, and it was kind of the predecessor to the Everly Brothers. I actually have a couple of them in the warehouse here that I've stashed over the
Does it get
years.
a lot of use in Tim Pierce land?
Well, the thing is, I've had it for 4 to 6 weeks, maybe I've had it. And when I played it in your store, I thought, okay, this is going to be gone in 2 hours. I have to buy this. Or it's
and it would have been, because you broke about 3 or 4 people's hearts that came in later that afternoon that were coming back to
every time I pick it up, it's like the music is playing me. Now, I don't say stuff like that, but if I just strum an A minor and a C on it, it's like I feel like I'm on a 60s record writing a great song. Wow. It really gives back more than I give it.
And if you hit an E,
yeah. And then the other guitar.
You don't do that stuff like the flat fifths and raised ninths.
No.
Majors and minors.
I'm a 3/4 chord guy with the little extra stuff on the side.
Don't believe it. He does it all. Both these guys, all 3 of these guys can do it all, but they prefer to play the true rock type stuff. That's straight ahead. Mark loves the.
May I say what a great guitar player I think Mark is? It blows my mind every time you play.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know anymore. I'll never be as good as I was back when I used to play.
Yeah, that's not true.
Norm, when did everybody? Do you remember when the Les Pauls became like the thing that everybody had to have?
Well, you know what?
Or like, I mean, obviously once the Clapton and Bloomfield and all those guys, the thing. But like you watch the prices go from $5,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Go from $800. When I was a kid in Miami, I guess it was Mike Bloomfield that kind of did it, and then
although Keith was the first guy that ever be televised playing a Sunburst, just so everybody were all on the same page with that.
I remember in Miami, there were a couple guys that had Sunburst Les Pauls, and they were about $800 at the time. And everybody went $800. Are you kidding me? $800 for a guitar? You're out of your mind. Yeah. And I didn't buy them because I was scared to death at $800.
Well, you were playing organ, right?
I was a Hammond organ player, and I had a band with this guy Bobby Caldwell. We had a nice band in Miami. We came out to LA, and I ended up buying like a black Les Paul custom in a pawn shop. And what ended up happening was, and the guitar player, Bobby, and this other guy, Bobby Jabbo, we had 2 guitar players that switched off from guitar and bass. They had an early 60s 335, and they were crazy about that guitar. And we'd go into the music stores in Miami, and they'd go, look at these late 60s, because it was in the late 60s how the necks aren't quite the same, and pickups don't quite sound the same and all that. And they kind of pointed out to me that these old guitars are really cool. So kind of by accident, and I ended up buying a few old guitars, an old jazz bass, and an old L5, and a few other guitars, and I started really realizing how good these old guitars were. And, you know, Gibson, they were, you know, in a lot of the companies, they were kind of figuring out, we could save, you know, $1 if we do this, and we could save 50 cents if we do that. And when they started doing all that, all those little things kind of made those guitars less desirable to the guys that were really in the know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a inside
getting it right the first time.
Right?
And Gibson usually takes a year. The first year of Gibson stuff, they normally always like, you know, and then by second year, it's like, oh yeah, we got it right. Leo always seems to get it right out of the chute.
But they finally figured out how to make tuners, self-tuning tuners. I mean, thank God for that.
Thank God.
Oh yeah, that was a good idea.
Yeah.
You know. You have a bunch of those. You put those on your gold top.
Yeah, you gotta have it.
Yeah. So, because you know when you have that extra weight, that really makes the guitars even sound better too. So
What's up with that?
But all I can say is thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you guys watching all our videos, all our nonsense. And these guys are like our extended family in here, and I'm proud to have these guys be involved with this. And I can't thank you enough for coming in. And
Oh, this is a treat.
And that solo was amazing. I mean, I can kind of hear it.
Right? Maybe we can reamp it later or something.
Yeah. Post. We'll do it.
She got it. Her camera picked it up.
I got it.
All right. Well, you're right here at the warehouse treasure hunt. And thank you guys for watching. And stay tuned for more episodes. Love you all. Thank you, brothers, for coming in and doing this.
Peace.